the British Empire. These two words evoke a tapestry of images, a whirlwind of emotions. They conjure visions of grandeur, power, and an era where the British flag was a common sight across the globe. At its zenith, it was the largest empire the world had ever witnessed. Spanning over 13 million square miles, it was a colossal entity. Its reach stretched across continents from the Americas to Africa, from Asia to the far reaches of the Pacific. Its influence shaping the destiny of nations and the lives of millions. The British Empire left an indelible mark on the cultural, political, and economic landscapes of its colonies. The phrase "the sun never sets on the British Empire" wasn't mere hyperbole, it was a geographical reality. At any given time, the sun was shining on at least one part of the empire. From the chilly shores of Canada to the sun-drenched plains of India, the Union Jack flew high, a symbol of British power and, to some, British oppression. The Union Jack was more than just a flag. It was a representation of British authority, governance, and sometimes exploitation. This vast empire was not constructed overnight, nor did it rise without bloodshed. It was built on the backs of countless individuals, through wars, treaties, and relentless expansion. It was a culmination of centuries of exploration, conquest, trade, and diplomacy. British explorers charted unknown territories, traders established routes, and diplomats forged alliances. This essay embarks on a journey through the annals of history. We will traverse the epochs that saw the rise and fall of this mighty empire. It delves into the rise and fall of the British Empire, exploring its complexities and contradictions. The empire was a paradox of progress and exploitation, of enlightenment and oppression. From its humble beginnings in the 16th century to its eventual decline in the 20th, the British Empire's story is one of transformation and adaptation. We will unravel the threads of this global power, examining its enduring legacy on the world stage. The remnants of the empire can still be seen in modern geopolitics, culture, and economics. The story of the British Empire is not just about military might and economic dominance, it is also about the spread of ideas, the exchange of cultures, and the impact on global history. It is also a story of cultural exchange, technological innovation, and the clash of civilizations. The British Empire was a melting pot of diverse cultures and ideas. Prepare to be captivated, challenged, and above all, informed. As we delve deeper, we will uncover the multifaceted nature of the British Empire and its lasting impact on our world. The seeds of the British Empire were sown in the Age of Exploration, a time of insatiable curiosity and daring sea voyages. This era, spanning from the 15th to the 17th century, saw European powers venturing into uncharted waters, driven by the promise of new lands, wealth, and knowledge. The spirit of adventure and the quest for glory propelled many to risk their lives on the high seas. While Spain and Portugal took an early lead in the race for colonies, establishing vast empires in the Americas, Africa, and Asia, England was not far behind. The Iberian powers amassed great wealth from their colonies, setting a precedent that England was eager to follow. England, with its own ambitions, began to chart its course across the oceans. The English crown sponsored numerous expeditions, hoping to find new territories and trade routes that would rival those of their Spanish and Portuguese counterparts. John Cabot, a Venetian explorer sailing under the English flag, made landfall in North America in 1497. His journey, though not as celebrated as Columbus's, was significant for England. Cabot's discovery laid the groundwork for future English claims in the New World. Laying claim to what is now Canada, Cabot's expedition marked the beginning of England's interest in North America. The vast, untamed wilderness of the continent presented both opportunities and challenges for the English explorers and settlers who would follow. This momentous event marked the beginning of England's overseas expansion. The English crown, recognizing the potential of these new lands, began to invest more in exploration and colonization efforts, setting the stage for the establishment of a global empire. However, establishing a permanent foothold in the New World proved to be a daunting challenge. The harsh and unfamiliar environment, coupled with the lack of resources and support from the homeland, made survival difficult for the early settlers. Early attempts at colonization, such as the Roanoke colony, ended in failure and mystery. The fate of the lost colony of Roanoke remains one of the greatest unsolved mysteries in American history, highlighting the perilous nature of these early colonial ventures. It wasn't until 1607 that the first permanent English settlement in North America was established, Jamestown, Virginia. This settlement, named after King James I, became the cornerstone of English presence in the New World. Jamestown faced numerous hardships, from disease and starvation to conflicts with Native American tribes. The settlers, unprepared for the harsh realities of their new environment, struggled to survive. Many perished in the early years, but the colony managed to endure. Yet, it endured, becoming a beacon of hope for future English settlers. The survival of Jamestown demonstrated that permanent English colonies in the New World were possible, inspiring further expeditions and settlements. The establishment of Jamestown marked a turning point, signaling the beginning of England's colonial ventures in North America. This small settlement would eventually grow and pave the way for the expansion of English influence across the continent. The early years of the British Empire were characterized by a combination of exploration, trade, and colonization. English merchants and adventurers sought new markets and resources, establishing trade routes that would become the lifeblood of the empire. The East India Company, chartered in 1600, played a pivotal role in expanding British influence in the East. This powerful trading company established a foothold in India and other parts of Asia, laying the foundation for British dominance in the region. Meanwhile, in the West, colonies like Barbados and Jamaica became lucrative centers of sugar production. The demand for sugar in Europe fueled the growth of these colonies, making them some of the most profitable in the British Empire. Fueling the demand for slave labor and forever staining the empire's history, the transatlantic slave trade became an integral part of the colonial economy. The human cost of this trade was immense, with millions of Africans forcibly transported to the Americas to work on plantations. The 17th and 18th centuries witnessed the rapid expansion of the British Empire. Fueled by mercantilist policies and driven by a thirst for resources and markets, Great Britain established colonies and trading posts across the globe. The East India Company, initially a trading venture, gradually evolved into a powerful force, assuming administrative control over vast swaths of India. The Caribbean islands, particularly Barbados and Jamaica, became central to the British economy. Sugar, a highly profitable crop, turned these islands into bustling hubs of plantation agriculture, albeit at a terrible human cost. The transatlantic slave trade, a dark chapter in human history, provided the forced labor that fueled this economic engine. The British Empire's growth was not without its rivals. Conflicts with European powers, such as the 7 Years' War from 1756 to 1763, resulted in significant territorial gains for Britain, further cementing its dominance. However, these wars also placed a strain on the empire's finances, sowing the seeds of discontent among the American colonies. Section 4. The American Revolution cracks in the facade. The American Revolution was not just a war, it was a profound transformation that reshaped the political landscape of the 18th century. Despite its growing power and global reach, the British Empire faced internal challenges. The vastness of its territories, stretching from the Americas to Asia, created logistical and administrative strains that were difficult to manage. The American colonies, once a source of pride and profit, became a hotbed of resentment against British rule. The colonists, who had enjoyed a degree of autonomy, found themselves increasingly at odds with the British government's attempts to exert more control and impose taxes. The cry of no taxation without representation resonated throughout the colonies, reflecting growing discontent with British policies. This slogan encapsulated the colonists' frustration with being taxed by a government in which they had no elected representatives. The American Revolution, from 1775 to 1783, marked a turning point in the history of the British Empire. It was a conflict that pitted the might of the British military against the determination and ingenuity of the American colonists. The colonists, fueled by revolutionary fervor and aided by European powers, fought for their independence. France, Spain, and the Netherlands provided crucial support, turning the tide in favor of the American cause. The British, despite their military might, faced a determined and resourceful enemy fighting on their own soil. The challenges of waging war across the Atlantic, coupled with the colonists' guerrilla tactics, made the conflict particularly arduous for the British forces. The Treaty of Paris in 1783 formally recognized the independence of the United States of America, dealing a significant blow to British imperial ambitions. This treaty not only ended the war but also marked the beginning of a new era in international relations. The loss of the American colonies forced Britain to rethink its colonial policies and to look elsewhere for expansion and influence. The British Empire began to focus more on its holdings in India, Africa, and the Caribbean, seeking to consolidate and expand its power in these regions. The American Revolution serves as a stark reminder that even the most powerful empires are not invincible. It demonstrated that the desire for self-determination and resistance to oppression could overcome even the most formidable military forces. It highlighted the importance of consent and representation in maintaining imperial unity, a lesson that would reverberate throughout the empire in the centuries to come. The British Empire had to adapt and evolve, learning that the loyalty of its subjects could not be taken for granted. Section 5. The Victorian Era, Zenith of Power. The 19th century, particularly the Victorian era, witnessed the British Empire at its zenith. Queen Victoria's reign, spanning from 1837 to 1901, saw an unprecedented expansion of British power and influence. The Industrial Revolution, with its technological innovations and mass production, fueled British economic and military might. The British Navy, boasting the most powerful fleet in the world, ruled the waves, securing trade routes and projecting British power across the globe. The phrase "the sun never sets" on the British Empire became a reality, as British possessions spanned every continent. This era saw the consolidation of British rule in India, the acquisition of new colonies in Africa and Southeast Asia, and the rise of British influence in China. The discovery of gold and diamonds in South Africa further enriched the empire, attracting waves of British settlers and entrepreneurs. However, this period of imperial grandeur was not without its shadows. Colonial exploitation, racial tensions, and the brutal suppression of rebellions, such as the Indian Rebellion of 1857, cast a dark cloud over the empire's achievements.